Hey viewers, and welcome back to The Lonely Overlander. Today I'm setting up and field testing this brand new Toolbox 2S diesel heater from H-Calorie. After breaking into the Amazon delivery box, it's pretty evident this setup comes with everything you need to get going apart from the diesel fuel. A ducting vent cover, a DC power cable, an intake air filter for the combustion chamber with a long inlet pipe. I trimmed mine down to a stub. A stainless exhaust pipe with muffler, a nice add, and of course all the hose clamps you need, as well as a bracket for hard mounting the exhaust. Of course, also included is a wired control panel with extension cable attached. Handy because the control panel is also the automatic thermostat to control the unit like your home furnace. And of course, lastly, the extensive operating manual in multiple languages. The kit obviously also comes with a few feet of semi-rigid heat ducting. Popping open the access panel on the side, we get a look at the unit itself. The wire harness includes an automotive style inline fuse, and the plug for the control panel is here as well. The toolbox itself has a pass-through cutout for the panel, but it's only large enough for the female end of the cable to pass through. And of course, a clip mount holder for the control panel. After adding diesel and plugging in the control panel, you're just about ready to go. The DC power cable that supplies the unit comes with eyelet connection terminals on the end for attaching directly to a battery. I trimmed those off and crimped on a cigarette lighter plug to mine to utilize the custom onboard power of my Bronco. I'll leave a link in the description below if you're interested. Using a lighter plug extension to my onboard lithium battery, we see the status of the Toolbox 2S displaying the time, altitude, and input power voltage. After attaching the muffler and air filter, pressing and holding the power button wakes the heater up. It immediately comes to life on the high heat setting, and you can hear the blower ramping up. I dropped the heat setting down to setting 5 for the initial run, and you can now hear the subtle click of the fuel pump here. This is the diesel ignition phase of the heater. A diesel glow plug heats up and gets the burn started, and the fan and pump gradually increase as the temperature comes up, and the combustion chamber switches over to auto ignition. And after a few short minutes, we're really cooking now. This sounds pretty loud in the video, but remember, I'm right on top of it here with the camera. Ramping the setting down now to a lower level, you can tell the combustion chamber is working efficiently now as the exhaust is coming out dry and hot and smoke free. Listening to the fuel pump, you can hear that its frequency has slowed down from its initial startup flow rate, and it's now settling down to match the user control setting. I'm not sure about other diesel heaters, but this one has a dedicated shutdown cycle, so power down the unit with the panel and don't just unplug it from the power. The blower slowly ramps down as the heat dissipates from the element, and it looks like the glow plug fires up again to burn away any diesel soot that may have accumulated in the burner. And finally, the blower finishes the cool down and the Toolbox 2S is off. Now, as far as setting up for my particular use, so the kit comes with this semi-rigid aluminum duct tubing and this vent cover. So this is more set up for the kind of through the wall mount, like a permanent installation. So what I did was went out and bought some inexpensive aluminum dryer ducting in the right size, 4-inch, and this is 8 feet long, like way more than enough that I need, and I'll use that instead and route that through the tent probably like one of the end windows. Something like this would probably be real sketchy on the tent fabric, you know, maybe damage the screen. So yeah, I'm gonna go this way. Of course, diesel consumption is obviously a factor in any diesel heater, but so is electrical power. And I was curious to learn just how much power draw one of these units has. So turning the unit back on from a cold start and looking at my onboard battery power draw, I can see the glow plug obviously working here, and it's requiring about 120 amps or just a little over 9 amps for startup. As the blower ramps up, I can see the ignition is burning and the glow plug is now off, and we're seeing the power draw come down to a more reasonable 36 watts. And then finally settling into full burn and the power coming down to just under 13 watts or 1 amp power draw, which is pretty incredible. All this at the middle power setting of 5, and we can see the power coming down a little bit more still, maybe from the fuel pump settling in slightly to a programmed burn setting. Kicking up to full power now, and we go from just over 10 watts to slightly over 13 as the blower is running full speed and the fuel pump obviously running at a higher frequency. Slowing the heater down now to a more typical setting of 2, and again we see the power draw come right back down slightly as the blower gradually ramps down. After the blower settles in, I drop it down to its lowest setting, and you can hear the frequency of the pump come down, the unit drawing just over 10 watts, but still an impressive amount of heat coming out of the duct. One of my favorite features of the H-Calorie is obviously the Bluetooth connectivity with my phone. The app on the phone quickly and easily finds and connects to the Toolbox 2S, and I click on the heating option and it prompts me to start the unit up. Again, we're firing up from a cold start here, and it goes through its quick start cycle. The buffeting in the combustion chamber clearly audible during startup, and then smoothing out shortly after as the burn heats up. The other cool feature of the 2S is the automatic stop-start thermostat function, using the wired control panel as a thermostat to control the heater. The blower automatically running at about half speed, as you see with this graphic at the bottom of the screen. Of course, this is just a demonstration of the thermostat. Obviously, for it to work correctly, the control panel would have to be inside the tent with me. For tonight, the easiest location for setting up the 2S is right here on my roof rails beside the tent. And as I mentioned, I'm just going to run the ducting through one of the end windows. The nice thing about camping in the autumn is I don't have to worry about any mosquitoes or insects getting through the unzippered window. So overnight we got down to almost single-digit temps, and by morning it was cold and damp still. But the H-Calorie 2S kept the rooftop tent cozy, warm, and dry. So much so, I was reluctant to even get out of bed. As far as fuel and power consumption, starting out with 5 liters of diesel, not quite a full tank, I was down to about 1/3 empty from the less than full 6-liter capacity. Good morning, everyone. How'd y'all sleep last night? Lexi and I slept incredibly well. Despite being almost single-digit temps last night up in the rooftop tent, we were warm and cozy. In fact, probably maybe a little too warm. I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But one thing I want to mention is last night when I was doing the unboxing, I forgot to mention the AC adapter here. So this unit will run on 12 or 24 volt DC, or using this adapter, 120 volt AC. So if you're maybe doing some camping at a provincial park and you don't have onboard power like I got, you just plug this thing in and you're all set to go. So think about diesel heaters, and I'm new to this as well. I didn't know anything about diesel heaters before this, but there is like a minimum flow rate, minimum combustion rate for a diesel heater to maintain efficiency, to maintain a clean burn so you don't soot up the combustion chamber. Even at its lowest setting last night, in my tiny little rooftop tent, it was actually putting out quite a bit of heat. It was probably too warm. I opened up some of the windows in the tent and redirected the vent a little bit to the outside so it wasn't all flowing into the tent, and it was comfortable. I tried both modes on the H-Calorie, There's the thermostat mode, where it uses the wired controller inside the tent as a thermometer, or thermostat rather, and it'll automatically start and stop the diesel heater to maintain a certain temperature range inside the tent. That worked really well. The thing is, when the diesel heater first starts up, it goes through what would you say, like a high heating cycle to get the combustion chamber heated up and the element warm and get the efficiency at a high enough rate. So that initial startup, even though it's really quick with this new Toolbox 2S, it puts out quite a bit of heat before it starts settling back down again. So I noticed that in a bigger tent and maybe more open space, it probably wouldn't be an issue, but in the little tent with it cycling up like that, it was probably getting too warm before it settled down to a comfortable temp. The other mode that the H-Calorie has is manual mode, which basically controls the fan speed of the unit. Like I mentioned, you can't actually control the temperature of the burner or the combustion. It's set in a way so it's burning the diesel fuel in the most efficient way and hot enough that it won't soot up the internals or the combustion chamber. So in manual mode, even at the lowest setting, this unit puts out still quite a bit of heat. Probably a little bit too much for my rooftop tent. Like I did before with the automatic mode, I opened up the inside windows and directed the vent a little bit to the outside, and it was comfortable. So last night I was monitoring the power consumption of the unit up in the tent using my Renogy battery shunt, and I could see how much electrical power draw the unit takes. So when the auto start stop function, there's a glow plug in there just like a diesel engine, and this is used to start the diesel combustion, and this will draw maybe 7 or 8 or 9 amps, maybe 120 watts of power for 20-30 seconds until the combustion's going enough to sustain itself. And then I see the unit settle down to maybe 1 amp draw or less from the fan. Overall, I think that's probably not an unreasonable amount of power draw. If you're using the auto start stop function, of course, this is going to cycle on and off all night long, and it's probably not as efficient electrically as maybe running it in the manual mode, where it's just steadily running all night long. Which one uses more fuel or not, that's up for debate. So last night I had the diesel heater up on the roof rack right beside the tent, and the heating duct running straight into the window, which was maybe 2.5 feet run of ducting. I think tonight I might try setting the diesel heater down closer to the ground and stretching out my ducting, and maybe having that extra length dissipate some of the heat before it gets into the tent, and maybe control the heat inside the tent a little better that way. I mean, it's not the most efficient way to heat the tent, but either is opening the windows and letting the heat out outside. So before I headed out on this weekender, I topped up the diesel heater at the gas station. I got just over 5 liters into it. It's a 6-liter tank, but because the tank is shaped in such a way that it's long and shallow, it's kind of hard to top up at the fuel pump. So maybe 5 liters in it, which is all right because I plan on getting like a 10-liter jerry can, and so like there's 3 tankfuls right there. So this morning when I got up, I pulled the diesel heater off the roof and brought it down and had a look inside, see how much fuel I used, and from what I put in it, it was maybe 2/3 remaining, which is pretty nice. So like a 3-day long weekend, 5 liters of diesel fuel, that's totally reasonable, I think. And especially considering how much heat this thing puts out, I'm totally impressed. It's really nice. So like I mentioned, this is the new Toolbox 2S. What's different from the Toolbox 2? They redesigned the combustion chamber. It's 36% more efficient. So 36% better use of the fuel, cleaner burning, longer lasting. Another change is to the fuel pump. If you're familiar with diesel heaters, the fuel pumps make a ticking sound. This is probably a complaint from a lot of users of diesel heaters, but they redesigned the fuel pump in this one, so it's a little quieter. This fuel pump, I could still hear it in the tent, but I mean, for me, it's kind of like a soothing heartbeat, a rhythmic pulse all night long, so it wasn't disturbing to me at all. It might even actually help me put me to sleep. Another feature I like is the Bluetooth connectivity with your phone to control the unit. The app has a really nice graphical display, real easy to use. There is also the key fob to control it remotely, and also the built-in wired controller, which has like I mentioned, the thermostat. Another thing that they upgraded with the 2S is the faster heat up time. From a cold start to full heat is roughly about 3 minutes, which is substantially better than the Toolbox 2, the previous model. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try a different setup with it, the H-Calorie tonight. Instead of having it sitting on the roof beside the tent, I'm going to mount it down on the ground and extend out the ducting to the tent, and hopefully this will dissipate a little bit of the excess heat before it reaches the tent, and then maintain a little more comfortable environment for sleeping. Instead of running the automatic stop-start mode, which admittedly could be a little disturbing for your sleep as it cycles on and off, I'm just going to run it in manual mode at the lowest setting and just have a constant flow of heat all night long and see how that does. I'll also compare how much fuel I used from last night and the power consumption from the battery and see how well it does. I'm not overly concerned about the fuel consumption or the power consumption on this unit. Trying both modes last night, it seemed really efficient as far as I'm concerned, both electrically and fuel consumption. So, you know, a diesel heater has been on the list for a long time for me, and it's just one of those things that when you overland in Canada, it's probably a must-have in your travel kit. I'm always looking to extend my travel season up here in Canada. My usual season end is Thanksgiving long weekend. That's Canadian Thanksgiving, which is in early to mid-October. Maybe with a diesel heater, now I can extend my travel season into the American Thanksgiving, which would be really, really cool. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in and checking out my review of the Toolbox 2S diesel heater by H-Calorie. Pick up yours now with a 20% discount with the link below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you later here on The Lonely Overlander. Bye for now.
Leaves start to change color. Autumn is near. There's a nip in the air tonight, so clear. Cold morning dew greets the dawn anew. Strong hot coffee to start my day. That old diesel fuel keeps the chill at bay. Camping in the Canadian woods with my dog. The cold be damned, I won't stay away. Every place I roam feels like home. My old diesel fuel lights my way. On the forest floor, echoes return. Crackling fires and stories shared while embers burn.